Hi, I'm Dan Halstead from Sidekick Games, and this is Tembo, our 2026 spring release. Designed by myself, Mads Flu, Asger Harding-Gannerud, and Daniel Skol-Petersen. Everyone is going to somehow fit their names on this box. We'll figure it out. But Tembo, unlike our previous games, Hutan and Aqua, is a cooperative game. It still plays 1 to 4 players in roughly 30 to 60 minutes, and is for ages 8+. As I mentioned before, the one difference between our previous games is this is a cooperative game. Players in this game are taking on the role of members of an elephant herd, and you're working together to cross the savanna to get to the river delta here at the end of the season, or before the end of the season. And how you're doing that is with a very interesting and unique kind of card system that we've designed that has simplicity and depth, in my opinion. Take that for what it may. So on your turn, you're simply going to do one of two things. You're going to play a card into the savanna, or you're going to discard a card to add elephants to the board, which signifies movement across the board. So the game, on each card, I'll show you this, there's a number of elements. Apologies. I need more coffee. The circle spaces are spaces on the board, blank spaces you cannot move. But the unique thing about this game is that you can see here at the top of each of the cards, there is a polyomino shape with some footprints and an arrow. Each player plays the game from their perspective at the table. You cannot rotate the cards when you play them for the shape of movement or to put them into the player board. So the cooperation becomes very much alive because players are trying to decipher what they have in their hand and how they can best work together to solve the puzzle that is moving from one end of the board to the other in that way. So, as an example, as I mentioned, I'm going to be holding these from this perspective and playing into the board or placing elephants. So when you place into the board, you're simply going to place it, as I mentioned, not rotating it, into any one of the empty savanna spaces. These spaces here, there's 6 of them, are called landmarks. These are markers of the Matriarch's memory, which the herd must travel to before they can reach the river delta. Okay, so these must be completed, and I'll go over that in a second, but you cannot place on top of those. When you place into the board, you can see there's a small reward that you or another player around the team gets, around the table gets. Again, this is another element of communication by fostering some kind of tactical strategy, because sometimes when I place, I might give elephants to another player, or I might take some for myself, or everyone might get them. So there's a couple of ways you can talk about what is best and where to play it. But the main reason for placing the cards out into the savanna is to build the path. As you can see, there's no path in between the landmarks, so we have complete agency over how we build the path using the cards in our hand. But again, with the one restriction of we can't rotate them. So we have to talk amongst each other to say, okay, how can we best link this path? What's the best way? Who should play where? These sorts of things. So let's say I play that out there. And then you simply just draw another card back into your hand at the end of your turn. That's your turn. The second thing you could do on your turn is to place elephants onto the board, so movement. Again, movement is linked to the card and the direction in which you're facing. When I play a card for movement, I'm simply going to discard that card to a common discard pile anywhere on the table. And what's going to happen is I'm going to collect a number of elephants equal to the footprints shown, and I'm going to place them out onto the board in the exact shape shown from my perspective. So again, I'm playing from this perspective, so I'm going this way. But if you were sitting at this end of the table, you would be placing this way. So that small little tweak changes the puzzle completely in how you have to communicate.
Can you place it otherwise? When you place it...
I'll go on that in a minute. Yeah, no worries. So when I do that, I would do this, this, and this. So you can see it symbolizes movement across the savanna of the herd. When you place elephants, they must always be adjacent to an existing member of the herd, either the matriarch or one of the other members of the herd. Adjacency is all 8 spaces, so diagonals are included. But as you can see here, there's no space here, so that is an illegal move. I must be able to place all of these. On the cards, there's a couple of small things to help you along your journey, because the journey is not just movement, there's a number of resources you need to manage within your herd. One of them is time. You can lose the game if the deck of cards runs out. The second is energy. You can also lose the game if the energy runs out of your herd. Energy can be gained. As you can see, there's a number of trees in 4 different colors. Here you can see these little standees. When you cover up, let's just for example, when you or another player or both of you, it doesn't have to be everyone, cover up a tree completely, if that tree is available, you're going to simply tip it over like an elephant does, and you're going to gain energy as shown on the tree. All of the trees gain you 1 energy, except for the blue, they gain you 2. So they have a little bit more of a special feeling to them as you're playing them out. And the idea being that food is quite critical to your journey. It's very easy to try and rush the puzzle, but you're going to need to take some stops along the way. So building your route to make sure that the trees are in probably tactically placed locations is a very important thing to keep in mind as you do that. There's a couple of other things, like the watering holes. These are going to give you 3 refreshed elephants. So each player is going to have a player board, and they're going to have some elephants on it and off of it. Those on of it are rested and ready for the journey. Those elephants that are not yet on the player board, and I'll go over why they're not on there, are ready to be rested, and you can do so, one of the ways, is by drinking at a watering hole. So if you covered up a watering hole, you would simply take 3 elephants and refresh them. They are now active. Because when you play elephants out onto the board, they must come from your active rested elephants. It's a little bit thematic sense there as well. The other things on there are these plus symbols. These are rough terrain or difficult terrain. When you place elephants, it requires that you place 2 in that space. So if I played this and I walked through these 3 spaces, this would cost me 4 elephants instead of 3. So again, another way to how you want to build your savanna. Maybe you're low on elephants and you need to talk through how things are doing that. There's a couple of different strategy points there. The last thing I will mention is how you win the game, obviously, is reaching the river delta. You can see here the landmarks, these purple spaces. When you completely cover it as a herd, jointly, you're simply going to take the beautiful little standee that matches it to mark that it's complete. You can put it anywhere next to it. And that's going to say that you've completed one of the 6 landmarks in the Matriarch's memory to reach the river delta. Once all 6 of these have been reached, you can see they come in different shapes, they're in all kinds of things. Then you can cover up these 2 spaces on the river delta and you win the game. A couple of small other things, there's lions, they're chasing the herd. If they catch you, they're going to start eating some of your lions, which will remove them from the game permanently. Also within the deck we have things called the Matriarch card. So as you can probably tell, you don't have enough elephants to go from start to finish. You're going to need to refresh the herd. There's a number of these in each of the stacks, so the day is broken down into 3 stacks. And when these are drawn, it's a little bit of a push your luck mechanic. These cards can be played as normal, and what happens is you just simply move the Matriarch, place it anywhere adjacent to the herd, and everyone retrieves their elephants into their tired stack. Then you're going to refresh all the trees, so now they can be eaten again. And play continues now from the Matriarch, because the board will then be sucked up, and the Matriarch will be the only existing elephant. And then there's also some lion cards within. The lions will move in a very automated manner towards you, so you can strategize your path to kind of subvert the lions as well, because you know exactly how they're going to move, you just don't know when. That's part of it. The other thing, so when the Matriarch moves, you eat some things, and like I said, you have to balance the resources of your active elephants, your energy, and accomplishing the landmarks. That is the game. There are 14, I think now, 14 different journey tiles, ranging in difficulty based on the shape and the lion placement. Obviously, where the lions are placed, they might come at you a little bit quicker, so that starts to reduce your herd and chase you a little bit more. These are obviously prototype graphics. And there's also a campaign system, so you could link a number of these together with varying resources not resetting between them. So maybe your energy doesn't reset for the second game, or your lions that were eaten, or your elephants that were eaten by the lions don't reset this game. So there's a couple of things to really kind of just get into it for either a single session, or you could sit down with your game group and play for 2 or 3 hours as you see fit. And it also plays solo quite well, just without the fun of the cooperative element. The talking in this game is huge. It's really fun to see, and players are really starting to puzzle out the thing. But again, this is Tembo. Journey Through the Savannah. It's coming out in spring of 2026. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Whew, that's a little longer explanation than that one, sorry.